ending screens are one of Metroid's most iconic features. The original was one of the oldest plot twists in gaming history, revealing Samus was actually a woman, which the marketing of the game had done a great job at hiding, and since then they have been present in every single game in the series. And for decades on end, the idea behind these endings was essentially the same. But then came Metroid Dread, the first original game in the series since the Wii, and suddenly the ending screens were completely different, and I suspect this was not a one-off. This is the new standard of the series. Why I think that is, and what it means, is something we'll get to later. But first, we must establish what was even changed in the first place. And for that, we need to take a look at the past, what exactly the tradition of ending screens in Metroid entailed. Like I mentioned before, these have been a thing since the very first entry, with usually different ending screens available depending on game time, difficulty, or game completion. In fact, in the original Metroid, you only get the big "Samus is a woman" reveal by beating the game in under 5 hours. And if you beat the game even quicker, Samus will not just take her helmet off, but also her entire suit, revealing either a leotard or bikini underneath for the occasion. This set of gradually building up ending screens, where you're almost playing stripping games with the main character, would become a tradition in the series. Metroid 2's best ending shows Samus in a tank top and panties, and Super Metroid goes for a black sports bra and thong. By the time Metroid Fusion rolled around, the former sprites were upgraded into actual artwork, with even the worst endings getting some custom-made artwork that honestly looked really sick. The 3 best endings in Fusion show Samus wearing what we now call the casual outfit, a blue sports bra and shorts. Interestingly enough, the Japanese version of the game has more lore-heavy art, showcasing for example Samus's parents or herself as a kid. The original Metroid Prime toned down endings heavily, probably as a result of time constraints, or they thought Samus unmasked in 3D would have been cool enough on its own as is. Meanwhile, on the GBA, the traditional way of handling endings would continue with Zero Mission, which again depicts the casual outfit, colored orange this time, as well as the Zero Suit, a look for Samus that began taking on the role of the more revealing alternatives more and more. Examples of this include Metroid Prime 2, Hunters, and 3, all of which use the Zero Suit for the best endings, and although Other M has no true ending screen, the final sections of the game are in the Zero Suit as well. Since Samus Returns on 3DS is a remake of Metroid 2, that one does feature an undressed Samus again, but it also includes the Zero Suit and even a Justin Bailey callback. And so, over time, the ending screens became less and less revealing throughout the series' history, landing us on the Switch for Metroid Dread. These ending screens ditch the conventions of the past almost entirely. Instead of Samus in increasingly undressed scenarios, this game has a total of 6 different endings, all of which instead depict iconic moments from the main series history. These include fighting Metroids from Zero Mission, a battle with an Omega Metroid from Samus Returns, an epic scene with Mother Brain from Super Metroid, fighting Ridley's clone from Other M, approaching SAX from Fusion, and the showdown with Ravenbeak from Dread. Obtaining all of these unlocks another hidden ending, which does feature Samus in her Zero Suit alongside a wide array of famous characters and enemies from the series. Awesome as this is, it does mean a very stark departure from what endings used to be, and I don't think that is a coincidence. It's simply a next step in the ever-changing definition of the word fan service. Because that is what this has been since day one, fan service. Well, that and a reference to the original Alien films, which were huge inspirations for Metroid and also feature the main character in a state of undress in several endings. But in a way, that is fan service in and of itself. Anyway, what this is all about is how the definition of fan service has changed throughout the course of the series' life. In the 80s and 90s, people weren't too fussed about women serving as eye candy for male audiences in sports, advertisements, and also in gaming, which is why Samus ended up filling that role as well as sort of reward to players dedicated enough to become so good at the game they could speed through it. It's an incentive to keep playing the game and improve your score. Over time though, as we enter the 2000s, the public perception of this kind of objectification of women changed, as well as Nintendo's place in the industry. Don't get me wrong, Nintendo always aimed for younger audiences, but while the emergence of more mature alternatives like Xbox and PlayStation in the landscape changed gaming, Nintendo held on to appealing to families and younger players as well. Metroid may have always been one of Nintendo's most mature games, but they're still on consoles with tons of casual players, like the Wii or the Game Boy Advance. And so, over time, it was decided to tone down the stripping of Samus, which was actually easy to do, because in the early 2000s we were introduced to a new popular fanservice machine, Zero Suit Samus. This depiction of a suitless Samus rose to popularity because of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and is nowadays one of the most iconic images in the series. I feel like by now, people have seen this appearance enough to kinda be used to it, but at the time, people really wanted to see more of the Zero Suit, making it the new ultimate reward in the ending screens. But once again, as time ticked on, the zeitgeist again shifted. The change that was started in the 2000s has fully come to fruition in our modern times. The objectification of Samus' character and her body serving as a reward for playing well simply doesn't suit the modern world and modern gaming landscape. Not only can it alienate female players, it also doesn't convey the same message it once did. All the way back in the 80s, this was radical and gnarly. Now, it's a little weird and even a tad creepy. But fortunately, the concept of fanservice is still fully alive, and Metroid Dread realized this. So instead of giving fans outdated imagery, they gave us awesome artwork that references historic moments from the series. You know, the kind of thing we are actually fans for. It's genuinely a brilliant way of modernizing an age-old concept into a new era, and if you ask me, it wasn't just a necessary change, but a fantastic improvement as well. This is infinitely more exciting and hype-building than another image of Samus wearing revealing clothing. Fans have been supplying that more than enough in basically every Metroid community. I don't need it in the actual games as well. I am already very curious to see what kind of endings future Metroid games will cook up for us, because I cannot imagine Nintendo going back to the ways of the past now. In fact, why not speculate a little? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is on its way after all, so new endings will soon be incoming. Now, so far the Metroid Prime series has always been quite conservative when it comes to endings, so I personally doubt this game will go the same way as Dread. That said, epic artwork depicting the events of the trilogy would be awesome, and don't forget free endings is a quite common number. But I think it's more realistic we'll get something using the in-game models, seeing as that has so far been the direction Retro Studios has taken things. If so, I think an unmasked Samus is very likely, as well as perhaps something that is going for more of a humorous and horny direction. We've seen that before as well with the thumbs up or breaking the fourth wall. What would be especially cool is something unlockable that you can use in future playthroughs, like costumes or maybe even new abilities. Not sure how realistic it is, but it's not like it has never happened, so who knows. But most importantly, Dread has changed the traditions of ending screens forever. They will still be fanservice like they've always been, but from now on, it's the kind of art that fans will actually find enthralling and cool to see, instead of a completely outdated concept that fans have seen a billion times already. It's a brilliant and exciting way to revolutionize one of the series' oldest traditions, and it's actually the kind of stuff series of this age need to reinvent in order to secure a future for themselves. And I for one can't wait to find out what new ending screens will await us in the future. But what about you? How do you see these changes to the ending screens throughout the series? And which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Metroid content. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.